What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Cash Physical Therapy Headquarters Podcast, the best damn podcast for physical therapists in the world. Here with the boys, Zachy, Will, Max, Ben. How we doing today, guys?
Good, brother. Another day. Always a great day, though. Every day you wake up is a good day. So
yeah, we got Will somehow surviving with you had the whole family sleeping together last night. Will is a newborn. So
yeah. We just had baby number 3, and she's 4 weeks old, and somehow we had 3 kids in the bed last night at 3 a.m.
That's a lot. How much sleep are you averaging?
Last night was not bad, like 6 hours. Ashley gets wrecked, man. But yeah, selfishly I sleep pretty good most of the time. She's a night mom.
How many hours Max, you just had your son. How many hours are you averaging now?
Yeah, we're about the same point. We're like up to like 6-7 hours a night, which has been a huge change because we were way less than that, not that long ago. So feeling like a human again.
That's crazy. I can't function. Like, I do not operate well if I don't get like at least like 7 hours of sleep. Ben, are you the same? Is that something that changes with parenthood?
I hope so, because I don't do anything. I don't do well with anything less than 7. So
right. And that is the thing, dude. Is like balancing business and family is like that's the game that you play at some point, and like there's nothing else that even exists. So that's the fun part, honestly.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing. Just acknowledging once you have a family, like even less of your time is your own now. Like your time is now owned by other people. But like I think you don't think you can function on less sleep until you have to. And then like, are certain things are like, going to take a little bit of a hit? Sure. But like when you see what it's for, it's a little easier to, stay up a little longer or wake up in the middle of the night when you see what it's for. But you guys will see eventually. You guys will see.
Yeah. Yeah,
and also you need to like hyper focus on the important stuff. Like all the little things like get thrown out the window that aren't important anymore, and you get to hyper focus on the important things, which actually helps you grow even faster. So it's kind of a secret weapon. Everybody should have some kids.
That's what I'm seeing in Max. Like your like focus and your productivity is like off the charts, which was already really good beforehand. But it's like, damn, I need to have some kids.
True, man. It's structure, and like when you got the time, you use it. So
yeah,
we need more good parents, and we need more good kids in this world, man.
Absolutely, there's plenty of the other ones. So we need to start taking advantage again.
So Ben, you maybe hold off on the kids, huh? Yeah, I was thinking. The other day I was really bored, and at first I was like, God, this sucks. And I'm like, you know what? This is actually really nice. I'll probably never like get to be just bored and like just relax and do nothing for at least like 18 years once I have kids. So enjoy it.
That's true, anyway, man.
Let's get into it. Today we're talking all things AI because it is changing so incredibly quickly. And if Clinical Marketer Live showed us anything, it's that everyone feels extremely behind. And some of the things that I know that the 5 of us have been working on has been blowing our clients' minds in just what is possible. And it seems that every single day we wake up and there's something brand new that almost makes what we just learned a month ago completely obsolete. So let's talk a little bit about like AI agents. That is the new thing. The CEO of NVIDIA basically said that if you're not using AI agents, you are going to get decimated by the businesses that do. And it's kind of forcing everyone to adopt it because the alternative is allowing your competition to skyrocket their profitability and their like efficiency to keep moving while you're still paying more. Things are taking longer to actually get done. And it's creating like a really interesting kind of world. So Max, why don't we direct this one to you? Can we define what an AI agent is?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think in the short scheme of things, like an AI agent is an AI model or a type of model that can actually do work for you. So like for a lot of us, we know like ChatGPT, you can go ask it a question and get an answer, and it might give you advice. But an agent is one that has memory, can handle long spanning tasks, and can actually go out and do a lot of those tasks for us. So I think that's the kind of the big leap that people make is like, oh, some of this stuff that, was on my to-do list and that I, is never making it off my to-do list because I keep putting it off is stuff that an AI agent could be doing while you're sleeping, while you're working on something else. And just like another employee for your business is really how they should be treated.
100%. And so inside of Clinical Marketer, all of our clients, we help them install their first AI employee called Victor. Victor's the guy. Not only getting an incredible amount of volume like done, but also supporting our clients in a really, really big way. Let's go to Will. When we first introduced you to Victor, like what were your initial thoughts? Can you break down like what Victor is, what Victor does?
Yeah, Victor's been great. So Victor's an AI agent, basically acts as an employee more than anything. So if you guys are thinking about like your LLMs, like ChatGPT or Claude, when you can have like conversations with it, but it can't actually like do anything for you. Victor is more like an employee that lives in Slack, and it was funny. Like I love AI, and we use it in pretty much every back end of our system. But when I came back and we implemented Victor, our two admins were like, "Hey, like, are we about to lose our jobs right now?" And and I kind of laughed at it, and I was like, "Not a chance." Like Victor still needs somebody to like. It needs a human to give it the prompts, and it's making our admins' lives easier. And I joked with them, and I was like, honestly, if it's going to take anybody's job, it's taking most of my jobs, because like a lot of the reports that it runs, it saves me so much time, so I could focus on like such higher leverage tasks. And so it's nice. It's kind of like a compliment and another employee that complements all of the actual humans that we have in the company, but it just makes everybody's lives easier.
Right. So like, but before Victor, which it lives in Slack, operates like an employee, can do anything on your computer that a human being can do. So if you give it enough instruction and training, it can go and do anything. And out of the box, I've never seen an AI that like effective. So like before we started using Victor, what were you guys? What was your like tech stack, your AI stack, and how were you using AI inside of your practices?
So for us, it was pretty much trying to leverage as many of the large language models as we can for what I thought they were useful for, right? It was using ChatGPT for kind of like quicker reference things and like quickly looking at documents and reading through them and giving me like a general gist of what's going on the report, kind of helping me guide that way. It was using Claude for a lot of like the copywriting. Kind of Claude was always, in my opinion, a little bit better at like remembering who I was as a person and what my business is about. So anything with more context needed kind of was Claude. I was using like sometimes like Manus to build a landing page and all these different things. And now because Victor does such a good job of like using whatever model it thinks it's best at doing what it needs to do, everything's kind of in one place. Now the hard thing about Victor sometimes is like the credit usage, right? Like being able to figure out like, okay, what things are worthwhile using the credits here, or should I just go to Claude and because I'm on this max plan or pro plan or else, like, should I just do the task here and then feed that to Victor? So I'm kind of figuring out what the best efficiency there is. But like Will said, I think it just makes the ability for me to. It's like, you guys ever play video games growing up, like on PlayStation? Say you play like a RPG, like Final Fantasy, right? Mm-hmm. And back in the day when internet wasn't that big, like you would buy a guidebook that you would have beside you to make sure you don't miss any treasure chests or any like specific, like, whatever else. So that's what Victor feels like. It feels like I was playing a video game kind of blind before. Now I have this like guidebook beside me that can give me any data, all the tips and tricks, whatever else. So I'm playing the same game. It's just a lot easier now to make sure I don't miss things.
Yeah, 100%. And Victor's like, it's so easy to kind of slip into using it the same way we use Claude and like ChatGPT, where you're kind of using it as this like reference guide and like almost an assistant for a project. But as we're all kind of learning, as we're messing around, it's like, we got to use Victor in almost an entirely different way, more of like systems thinking. So it's like, instead of using it as like a task rabbit, it's like, how do I build systems that Victor can run and manage so that we don't have to do it anymore? So for you guys, like, what do you like? Let's define like, because it's so hard to wrap your head around. Like I avoided Victor for months. So did Max. Ben even resisted it at first when we brought it to him because it's like just another AI thing. Is it really that different? So Max, like initially, what were your hesitations around using like an AI agent like Victor, and what are the biggest differences that make it a no-brainer that practices should be using that kind of technology?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll say, like, first, you kind of hit it on the head where it's like, is this just another AI thing? Is this like kind of a fad? Is this, a new model, like a new model of ChatGPT, basically, right? Where a new one comes out and it's cool, but it's not that different. But really what it's done is it's shifted things, like even within our company, from roles to workflows. So, now, like, we think about like our client onboarding experience, right? There's a workflow of every step that needs to happen from the time someone says, yes, I'm ready to work with you guys, all the way through, like, their basically the first win they have with us. And what pieces of those do we need a human for? And what pieces of those can Victor handle? And just building out the workflow and saying, okay, phase 1, 2, and 3, Victor's got that. We need a human here for phase 4. All right, phase 5 and 6, Victor's going to pick up there. And just adding it to every aspect of your business. So, when we used to think about, we'd have a role of like, you're the accountability coach, you're the client success director, you're the patient success director. Where does that role now fit into a workflow of the patient experience? And what pieces of that workflow does an agent handle? And what parts does a human handle?
Well, I think too, like, especially as like a solo, like if somebody's a solo practitioner and like, they're the CEO and the janitor and everything in between, like, you're running marketing, you're running sales, you're still treating, you're doing admin tasks, like just even having Victor as like a sidekick and like helping navigate, some of that things, like they can run reports for you and like your meta ads, and you can see, okay, like, hey, let's shut this ad off. And like, the nice thing about it is it can actually just go do that for you now, though. So like you can just like link it to the account and be like, hey, like this ad's not performing as well. Like let's replace it with this. And it's like, yeah, just go do that now. And so now you can focus on, doing your discovery calls and treating or whatever, or hiring. And it's just building systems for you in the background and managing them. So as a solo provider, it's just buying time back for you too. And, the credits may be expensive now, but, in the next 6, 9, 12 months, they're probably going to be a fraction of what they are, which is nice. Like, the token is going to go way down.
Yeah, I think also on the other end of the spectrum for people that are scaling as well is it's a great way to help with auditing. Like there's a lot of things of tasks that, we've got a team over 20. I have to make sure that those little things are not getting missed as we grow and scale. You see all the time with big companies, they start growing and scaling. You lose the personal touch. It becomes just a microcosm of what it used to be, right? And I'd want to make sure that doesn't happen with ProConnect. So for example, Victor helps a lot with auditing, make sure things are getting done. Are we sending the welcome text to every single eval before they come in? Or are we missing some, right? The ones that we're missing it's not the same experience. It's not the same ProConnect experience. So he's in a Ring Central account, can see what texts are getting sent and which ones are being missed. I just audited this last night and set up a new workflow for Victor to do. Is he's analyzing, we have a reactivation campaign and we have to manually go in and add the patients that have discontinued into that campaign. He's able to audit which ones have been missed that should have been added that weren't added for the last 6 months, right? And so we're leveraging Victor mainly from an auditing perspective to make sure that the small things that make ProConnects are not getting missed as we grow and scale.
Right. Well, I think too, it allows us to hire, use humans at a higher leverage point. And especially in our practices that are premium based, if you're a commodity kind of like a practice, you take insurance and you don't really care, it's a volume game. You could probably do that a ton. But the nice thing about AI for us and things like Victor is it makes humans become even more of a premium from a client experience standpoint. And it helps us leverage them and use their brain as a human to be able to do these higher leverage things that are just going to increase the client experience, which over time will create a more premium brand, which then you're going to be you're going to be more insulated to, creating higher prices and better margins and giving back to your team and implementing more into AI and expansion. And so I think it's just helping us go even faster.
Yeah. And I think the big thing with it too is people are worried that AI is going to take over people's jobs and do this and that. But over 80% of consumers prefer human interaction over AI interaction. I'm sometimes, calling customer service at different businesses, and I'm yelling on the phone, speak to a representative, and they're like, oh, press 1 for this, and I'm getting frustrated because it can be handled in 2 minutes by a human, right? So the role of AI isn't necessarily to get rid of human interaction, because we know that's what helps build trust with the people we're working with. The role, I feel like, is to get a human in the room faster. Take away the medial tasks that don't really necessarily build or lose trust. But when there's important things that can either build or lose trust with the consumer, I think a human needs to have direct oversight over it. But a couple of the use cases we use for Victor is sometimes we'll have for people that opt into our advertisements, we'll have different messaging and see, hey, what do people respond to? What do they not respond to? In terms of the first text that's sent out, right? And we'll tell Victor, hey, Victor, starting on this date at this time, the text on our workflows have been switched to this, because Victor can't read a lot of the GHL text because it's for a HIPAA violation. He doesn't read the exact stuff, right? So we say at this time we switch the messaging to this, and then in 2 weeks later we'll say, hey, Victor, compared to the previous time period, moving this from this time period forward, what was the response rate on the text compared to before? And then we could pick and choose split testing landing pages. We can do that with every single thing and have really, really accurate data versus sitting there and expecting GHL to spit that data out or a human to go in and count up all the responses to this text versus this text. So it's just information that I thought would be such a pain to ever gather, but I knew would be so valuable for us to make change in the future. Now it's at the tip of our fingers.
Right. And it just keeps getting better and better, to the point where you can't help but wonder what the future is going to look like with these tools. Because right now, for the most part, we're all using it for data analysis. Are people doing what they're supposed to be doing? Is our data accurate and saving us time and having to go and manually track all this stuff down? But when you look at it from a practice systems perspective, it's it has huge impact to simplify those and greatly enhance every single system within your business. If we just go through each and every system to lead acquisition, where maybe it's every single month doing research on what is the trending topics, search volume on Google, or more people searching for hip issues or shoulder issues this month, queuing you to launch new ads for that topic, or analyzing what are all the top performing ads across all physical therapists in the country and give me the ones with the that have been running the longest with the lowest cost per 1,000 impressions. All this research, and it's at your fingertips, and you can just go system by system and let it run wild, and it becomes your hardest working, lowest paid employee. So tell us exactly what are you currently using Victor for inside of your practices, and where do you see the future of this going 12 months, 1 year, and 3 years from now?
So I guess I'll go first. So for us, for Victor, like we said, the things that it's automating are things like looking at reports of what people are responding to, what people are not responding to in terms of text messages. Same thing with email campaigns. It can read through those, hey, when a newsletter has this kind of structure, we get this many clicks versus not, right? So it gives us that data really, really quickly. The other stuff automations wise, it looks every week for how many Google reviews we're getting and where we're getting them from now, because we do have an automated Google review campaign that we have set up that as soon as somebody hits visit number 4, we get put through our Google review campaign that sends them texts and sends them emails. And it'll start changing. It'll start giving us recommendations every week of what wording we should start changing depending on, hey, do they respond to text 1? Do they respond to text 2? Do they respond to text 3? And since then, we've been collecting anywhere from in our 3 locations, 5 to 10 Google reviews a week. Consistently. And it's without us having to do any touch points. It's amazing. And then the other thing I really like that Victor does as well is every Monday it gives me a full snapshot of the business, right? How did meta ads do the week before? What kind of ROAS are we looking at per ad? And then from there, it gives me an understanding of hey, it looks at our providers' scorecards as well and says hey, this provider is trending this direction. You might want to jump in a meeting with them to talk about this. So it's really keeping a pulse on things, because I think at the beginning when you're a solopreneur, the hard part is actually just tracking your data. And once you start scaling, you have so much freaking data. You're like, what do I do with all this shit? So it gives you a really good ability to not like get stuck in the weeds and like look at every little thing, but a much more digestible snapshot of your business that you can actually take action on.
Yep. Love that. Will, Ben, you using it for any other like?
Yeah, we're using it to track speed to lead as well. So each lead that's in our tracker, it also has a column where Victor goes in and analyzes, hey, how quick did we get to our leads, and then it gives me trends each week on how our speed to lead is being impacted. So then it gives me insight into, hey, is this a team performance issue, or is this actually something where we're understaffed and we actually need to hire, and start giving me indications of like, hey, when do we need to hire for this next role? So it does analyze our speed to lead. That's something we've implemented in the last 2 or 3 weeks. That's been pretty cool to see and be able to analyze, and also hold the team accountable as one of our KPIs that we meet during the sales meeting as well.
All right, so it's really becoming like a manager. It's like helping like be almost serving the director of the clinic and giving them better data, knowing when intervention's necessary. What about you, Will?
Yeah, I mean, like we're pretty similar to Zachy and Ben. I also use it a little bit as like an executive assistant kind of thing to help me like manage my schedule and my calendar and like my day to day, while also giving me, nightly feedback on, hey, like how'd the funnel do today? How many leads did we get? How many of those leads got on calls? How many of those calls booked evals? How many of those evals showed up? From how many of those evals got packages? Who did the calls? Like, hey, like if looking at trends of who on the discovery call specialist team is booking the evals, and then if they're booking the evals, which PTs are closing the highest packages. And so it's like I can see trends there, because like when it comes to KPIs, that people need to understand, there's really two things about KPIs. There's tracking them, which is like where people actually have like the biggest hurdle. But then once you do that, now Victor can do that, like it's so easy. Now it's about analyzing them and being able to make decisions from them. And so it's like, as like a founder, an owner, or even like an operator, you need to be able to analyze your KPIs. But if you're spending hours and hours and hours a week or a month just collecting the data, like you're going to be fried to analyze them anyways. And so if you could just have somebody do that, now you can sit there at a high level, you can see the forest through the trees, and you can actually be able to make high level decisions in the company. That's going to be good for the patients. It's going to be good for the clients. It's going to be good for the team, and it's going to be good for the company from a revenue profit standpoint.
Right. And like for us, like the main thing that I'm using Victor for right now is like my core responsibility is helping our clients create better and faster content. So I'm using Victor to integrate it with a couple different tools that allows me to pull like all of the top performing content and top performing ads in the physical therapy like niche, analyze exactly like what makes those great, not just like their scripts, but their copy, the visual hooks, like what's actually going on in the scene, and create these like skill packs for that will not only like allow our clients to instantly see like what are the top performing content and ads that I need to like make variations and put like my own spin on, but also once you select those, it then generates like those scripts. It creates that content. And so we're seeing like things that used to take hours and hours of just like prep work to get ready, suddenly being fully automated. You just show up to work on Monday and it's all done. And it's not even like that expensive, but it does get up there. I think we are like kind of at a point where does it make sense to have like a VA? Like, where do you guys see like the future going with this? Like, what do you think is going to be like fully automated within the practices, and how do you think that's going to impact like our teams? Yeah, Max, I'll hear Max's prediction first, just because he has more context than anybody on this topic. So Max, what do you predict, dude?
Well, I think, like AI, just like the internet was, it's really an amplifier, right? So it takes, we have some of the best operators in the industry on this call right now. And it's like, it takes great operators, it makes them incredible, right? So it's arguably one of the biggest amplifiers humanity's ever seen. Like obviously the other big one that we can all reference is the internet, right? Where it's like, you were great writing a sales copy and you were sending that out snail mail. And all of a sudden you got to put it on the internet and thousands of people from across the world got to go to that page and see it. It amplified your ability, your reach, your potential. So, a little bit of a rabbit hole here, but I got a little 10-year-old nephew and he jumps on Claude Code and says, make me a Super Mario Brothers game. And, an hour later, he's got a little Super Mario Brothers game you can play on his computer, which is great. So like, there's like a lot of fear of like, oh, is AI going to take our jobs and replace humans? Because we don't need a human to do that. Now AI can do that. But what you think about is like, you take the guy that was amazing at making video games before AI, and now he can make, a world-class production game that used to take millions of dollars in rooms full of people. So I think as we go on, like that, the amplifier dials is going to get turned up more and more of just like what it can do to take the human in the room and amplify their abilities. So I don't see it replacing people like for the most part. I think it's just going to take what you're great at and take it, 10x it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to like push on that like a little bit. Like it is going to replace jobs, but I don't know if it'll fully replace people. But I think people's roles are for sure going to change. Like what an admin does today, I think is going to look very different 3 years from now, when all like follow up is completely personalized, it's fully automated. Schedules are being managed, and like if someone drops off and we need to like fill in that gap, a lot of that can be fully automated. It is crazy, but I do think like there's always going to need to be like a patient care coordinator somewhere, like someone greeting and helping facilitate like the culture of stuff. So I mean, what do you think won't be automated aside from like treatments inside of clinics? Because I know like voice and AI, conversation AI, it's not quite there yet, I don't think. But it's like, what's that going to look like in 3 years? So give us like the, whoever wants to jump on it, like what's like AI achieves everything that like investors and these companies say that it's going to, and what's like the middle ground of what's realistic with AI within a practice in the next like 3 years?
Well, I mean, I could kind of jump into this because I think about this all the time, maybe too much, but I don't know if, I think the main thing is AI is going to maybe remove or like displace jobs. But the question is it going to create like enough leverage for humans to be more creative and actually like do higher leverage things throughout the day? And so it's like, I think the question is, okay, yeah, AI is going to remove jobs, like that's fine. But is it going to create the opportunity to have like better jobs, higher performing jobs at a faster rate? Then it's going to displace the other ones. Mm-hmm. And like, if you think about like, I don't know if you guys saw that, the letter from the Pope or whatever saying, AI is basically, okay, well, the last, who's a Pope? Pope Leo, I think. Well, the last Pope Leo was during the Industrial Revolution, and the same exact letter came out. The Industrial Revolution is going to destroy humanity and all these other things, but all it did was create better opportunities. It like the child labor age basically doubled, so it went from like being like 8 to like 16 because now we have machines to like do all these things. Healthcare got better. The average income of doctors like 10x since then, and so it's just going to create higher leverage jobs for people who are ready for it. So yeah, maybe like 10 to 20% of like people who are not, gonna like be with the times and like be the best versions of themselves are going to be hurt. But at the same time, it's going to create this opportunity to make the world such a better place. And think about like from admins, right? And admin is like one of the most important roles in our company. They're client facing. They're the smiling face when people come in. They're the glue that holds this place together. Yeah. All that this is going to do, it's going to remove all the shitty jobs that they're doing now, and it's going to help them create a better environment for our clients, a better brand, a more premium brand, and they're going to be able to use their natural skill sets and then offset the things that they're not good at and just automate the heck out of it. Yeah. And so I think at the end of the day, like it's going to remove not people's jobs, but it's going to remove pieces of jobs that people hate to do anyways because they're just so monotonous. And it's going to help leverage them to do higher level things.
Yeah. I think we'll spot on with that of the, like, it's going to allow people to enjoy their jobs more too, because like, that's one thing I had all of our teammates, like everybody on our team list out all the tasks they don't like doing. And then I figured out a way, hey, what can Victor do? So now it's also improving employee retention because they enjoy their job more. And also I'm going to make an argument that, what Will was talking about, it's going to actually create jobs. AI is allowing us to grow faster because we're able to grow faster, we're able to hire on more PTs, which is also in creating jobs. So I think it will spot on with the statement of like, it's just going to create better jobs. It will remove some jobs, but it's going to also create jobs that are more enjoyable and more impactful for humanity too.
Yeah, I think every time I've taken a role in the company that's been like a split focus role, like an admin, I want you to be front facing. I also want you to do discovery calls. Every time I've taken those two different things that are like, you have to be in almost two different mind frames to handle each of those well, and I've split them into two different people, it's been beneficial to our company like 5-6x fold. Like there's never been a time where I've had someone that's had split focus and have done both those jobs really well. There's a book that I read called The One Thing.
Oh yeah.
And it just talks about how multitasking is a complete myth. It's like people almost pride themselves on being multitaskers and being so good at doing everything. All that means is you're doing a lot of stuff shitty, right? But if you can focus on the one thing that brings you life, one thing that gives you fulfillment, one thing that allows you to make the biggest impact in the company and in the patients' lives you can, now you're valuable. Now you're somebody that's like irreplaceable, right? Like we have right now, even we're trying to figure out a way, our current front desk in one of our locations, he's phenomenal on the phones. So now my job is find a way to get him just on the phones and take over as many of the admin tasks as we possibly can and find someone else to replace that front desk. Because one, like the being on the phones obviously is very important, but two, it allows him to be in a position where he's the most fulfilled. And like I said, if we're not a provider first company, which looks at people and thinks about retention and thinks about how are we building a culture that people want to stay in and grow in and find themselves in, we're going to have a really hard time with turnover. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why for us, we haven't had an issue with turnover very much, because we create an environment that is provider first, and learning how to use AI for your people versus replace your people. I think is going to be one of the biggest differentiators between companies that continue growing and stay around for a while versus phase out.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like in our company with our team, like I always tell people like, hey, like we want to develop you as a human first, and then like a clinician or an admin or a sales specialist or a marketing specialist second. And because if we can develop humans first, like they're going to be so much better at what they do, because they're going to have so much more joy in what they do. And like, I don't know if you guys saw what Google did, where it's like they wanted 10% of the work week to be spent on some like task that's going to be like an internally driven from them. That's how Gmail was created. And it was like a 4-hour a week kind of a thing. And so I don't know if you guys ever heard the, 20% of your clients generate 80% of your revenue, right? Well, there's also the piece of like 20% of the time that you spend on things is going to help you grow so much faster. And 80% of the time that we spend on things can actually be removed most of the time. And so if you spend the right 20% of your time on the things that are important, that are going to help grow, and you automate the other 80% through Victor, through an AI agent, or AI just in general, then you're going to focus on the 20%. But then what happens, like, first, second, third order thinking, that's first order thinking. But second order thinking is that 20% now eventually becomes 100%. And then you can get to do the same thing again. And you can take the 20% of that 100%. And then now you're just focusing on these micro things that are generating so much revenue, changing so many lives, building these systems that are going to optimize the lives of everybody on your team and your clients. And you just get to do it at 10 times faster speed now. And like, that's what excites me the most about it.
I think it's like a double-edged thing, because it's like, it's going to make it way easier. It's going to level the playing field for other people to like run a pretty smooth operating practice. Like right now you win if you're a great operator. But I think especially as we develop like our skill packs and train our Victor and deploy that in people's practices, and it's doing more and more of the stuff that they just don't want to do, that's preventing them from growing faster, it's going to allow people who are less savvy, like entrepreneurs, to get ahead pretty quick. So I think going to your point, Zachy, it's like the power of it is allows the people in your company to really focus on one thing, because all like the tedious crap we can now like completely automate, so they can just focus on that one thing. So what do you all think becomes the competitive advantage to practices once all of the operations, the analysis, the constraint identification, knowing how to solve that constraint, once that all becomes commoditized knowledge, that AI is taken care of for you.
I think to me, it's like almost looking at it as like a glass half empty versus glass half full situation, right? You can look at it as like, man, like pretty much it takes less savvy people and brings them up to speed and can a lot of them start practices. So it brings the floor up, but it also takes the ceiling and blasts that shit to the moon, like what you can possibly do by having all these things taken over, right? And you know how like a lot of solopreneurs and physical therapists that are like scared of starting their practices are like, man, I just want to be a really good clinician. This allows you to be a phenomenal clinician, really focus on those things, focus on building your team to get world-class outcomes, while these other things that you feared that you would have no idea how to do, no idea how to systematize, no idea how to delegate. Now, all these things are so much easier implemented. Now, exactly what you wanted, PTs listening to this, can happen, right? You wanted a practice where you could focus on being a PT. Guess what? It's here. So now what are you going to do? Are you going to now make another excuse, or now you're going to actually push the profession forward?
Because now you kind of have a CEO in a box.
100%.
But that's also the beauty of capitalism, man. Like, it's going to drive so much more competition. It's going to force everybody to get better. Like, I constantly have this thought in the back of my head that there's some young buck, not that I'm not a young buck, that just like, let's go, dude. Like, they're going to be hungrier. Like, they're going to be more driven. And in my head, it's like, hell no, dude. Like, I'm a killer. Like, I'm going to do whatever I can. And now all this does is give me more leverage of my time so that I can go in. But that is the beauty of capitalism. It creates competition. And what competition does is it creates better products and better outcomes and better services for the consumer. And that's one of the things that I'm so fired up about, is everything is going to get better and everybody's going to go to the top. Now, people are going to get eaten along the way, but that's how life is, man. Like, if that's the sacrifice to make a better product for all the consumers and improve healthcare across the country, I'll pay it.
Oh yeah. Now there's one, like, we're at the frontier of one of the biggest shifts in entrepreneurship that has ever happened, that now allows agents to run and manage your marketing on your behalf. So you don't even have to, like, we went through the age of like, everyone needs to work with an agency. Then it was like, screw that, running ads is easy. Everyone should learn to run their own ads. But now it's like, screw doing it yourself, have AI do it. As Google released their MCP, Max, you want to explain what an MCP is for everybody?
Yeah, I think my favorite analogy for this.
Take it through the Google and the Meta Ads MCP.
Yeah, absolutely. So my favorite analogy for like an MCP is like, you know, there used to be all these different phone chargers, right? You go to somebody's house, and you're like, oh, you got an Android charger, an iPhone charger. Like, what iPhone do you have? Does it fit mine? Well, an MCP is just like a standardized way for agents to plug into different platforms and services, right? So Google, Meta, two of the examples that have their own MCPs, meaning standardized outlet you can plug your agent directly into. So you can have, just like you have a conversation with Victor, with Claude, with ChatGPT, you can have a conversation with that service. So you can have a conversation with your ad account saying, hey, how are these ads performing this week? And then give it instruction on what to do next as well. So turn this ad off. Here's some new creative, run this ad as well. Oh, I want to set up a new campaign to target, gym goers with shoulder pain that want to get back to lifting heavy, right? So just natural language conversation, like we've all learned to love over the last, year, 2 years, talking to ChatGPT and Claude and all these other LLMs, we can now have with these platforms that are opening up MCP servers. So, I think the real differentiator now becomes is like, who's got the great agents, right? Like, there's a difference between, my 10-year-old nephew who can talk to it and someone who's been running, ads for years and has an experience marketing to their ideal patient. So definitely kind of an open channel, an open gateway for anyone to not to know what button to click in Ads Manager anymore. You can just talk to it and get the job done.
Yeah, it's one also to talk about the savviness that we were talking about earlier that Max kind of was highlighting a little bit too, is we're also, while some of the AI stuff removes your ability to have to be savvy in certain areas, I think it also requires you to be savvy in other areas too. What I mean by that is I'm seeing a stark difference amongst our clients on how some are leveraging AI and how some are not. And that requires savviness in of itself of how you're actually leveraging it too. So I want to highlight that it doesn't take, that competitive edge away or that strategy away, it might actually make it even more where you actually have to be even more savvy, because the opportunities and options out there with what AI can do, you have to be savvy on how to leverage it effectively too.
Yep. That's one thing that I've noticed. Like, I catch myself doing it. I know our clients do it. Like, they can't get their agent or something to do the task that they're trying to ask it to do because they haven't actually broken it down into like steps. Like, if you can think programmatically and think like one step and build one step at a time, that's how we build like crazy workflows, crazy agents. And that's going to be like the skill set. You're going to need AI employee, like directors, managers of each one that knows how to like think systematically like that, and figure out where things are breaking down and build them in a right way. Otherwise, they just become a huge cluster. So Max, I know, so Clinical Marketer, like as a company, our goal is to fully automate all paid advertising and marketing by 2027. Max is automated website development and SEO so far. The next frontier is now automating Google ads and meta ads, now that we can build programs and agents to basically run our accounts for us. Can you kind of paint the picture of what that actually looks like? I know Chris Smith on our team, he's been experimenting with the Google ads MCP and has been getting some pretty cool results. Can you paint the picture of what that kind of looks like and what the future is for what fully automated meta ads will likely look like?
Yeah, I think we're in a unique position for this one, especially, but kind of relays back to what you were talking earlier with the things you're working on with AI, Jordan, where it's like, okay, we can see what ads are working best. We can see which ones are generating the highest return, getting the most evals booked, cost per discovery call, each layer of the ad and the funnel as a whole, and use all that data from a conglomerate of community of the industry and say, okay, when we go talk to our accounts, when we can go talk to our ad account, instead of making you watch a video of how to set it up, we can plug in our agent that knows what's working best right now. It knows exactly who you're looking to target and can set up everything from the campaign structure to the targeting to the copy to the creative, and then also manage that for you. So just like these guys were talking with Victor, they get that weekly report of, hey, here's the funnel metrics from last week. It'll be, hey, here's the funnel metrics from last week. Based on these, I'm going to go pause this ad. Why don't you get me a new video? I'm going to launch a new shoulder ad for you. And it'll just be like a conversation like, hey, got that video done. Here it is. And boom, the ad's on. So, it definitely changes things of like, I don't see any reason for anyone to log into Ads Manager, about a year from now, probably.
Do you think having Google and Meta ads fully automated by 2027 is realistic?
Absolutely. I mean, I think obviously there's like some decision making that's still going to happen, but I don't think it's ever logging into those platforms. So, like when you say fully automated, like I think creative, we're not at a point where we're going to be putting, an AI agent in a video ad, right? It's still going to be, you're still going to want it to be, your brand, your people, or maybe you yourself, in your voice. But, from the standpoint of like, hey, here's the new creative, go ahead and launch it. Yeah, that's months away.
Yeah, that was my leading question that I want to open up to the rest of the group, because we know that AI is going to be able to do most of the things on the computer that keep us from focusing on the things that we really want to be doing. And so I personally think the greatest competitive advantage is like, are you likable and can you pump out content in a way that gets enough people to know you exist? Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like just community and culture at this point is I think the only thing worth optimizing for within our businesses. Of course, like clinical skills, of course, as well, but that's everything else is kind of getting commoditized. All those technical skills.
I mean, I think brand and culture, right? Like brand and culture, like the stronger that your brand is, the stronger that your culture is the more insulated your company is to whatever else, to competition, to something new, to AI, to whatever. Like the stronger that your brand and your culture is, the bigger the insulation you have. The more insulation you have, the more you're protected, and like you can grow inside of that like little biosphere, if you will. And like if you think about even like a company like Coca-Cola, like they have such a strong brand, and there's not a single ingredient in there that won't kill you, but they still sell so much. I mean, their revenue is so high, their profit's insane. Like they're a public company. Like they were one of the title sponsors of the World Cup. They're always one of the title sponsors of the Olympics. Not one of those athletes is drinking Coca-Cola, but their brand is so strong they could push whatever they want. And like, is that good or bad? Like, you know, I think it's you know, the power's in the beholder, right? So it's like if you have good intentions, that could be really, really strong, and you can change the world with it. Or you can do what Coca-Cola, McDonald's is doing, just like push their junk and like, you know, create diabetes and cause this cascade of problems down in the healthcare field, you know, years later or whatever. But the whole point is, the stronger your brand is and the stronger that your culture is, the more insulated against everything else that you are.
Yeah, and I think another way to look at it too, that's a little bit more like how you can use those lessons to propel your business is like Coca-Cola spends $5 billion plus a year on advertising, right? Like they got a strong brand, they got a strong culture, but they're still pushing it to a lot of people through advertising dollars, right? So I think starting off, a lot of PTs are wondering like, you know, oh, what kind of content should I make? Like, what should I do? And they have such a hard time getting into that place of where like they feel authentic with their content. But like, to me, what really allowed me to feel authentic with the content is realizing like, man, I am completely in charge of the message I put out to the world right now. I get to show them, for better or for worse, what I want to show them, right? So when you watch those couple influencers online and everything is happy and dandy, and then 6 months later they're divorced, you didn't know anything about it. You're like, oh shit, like I guess not everything. So what I'm saying is like, it's a very powerful way for your business to be able to grow, because you can show exactly what you want to show to who you want to show it, when you want to show it, and how much you want to show it. So I think it's super important to be able to draw out exactly what your culture is, what your vision is, what your mission statement is. And then from there, like just shout it from the rooftops, because that's the way you're going to attract the people you want to attract. And then also going to be one of those ways that, like Will was saying, you're insulating yourself from competition, from other people popping up down the street, from people like drawing conclusions about the industry as a whole and painting you with one brush. Like that's not going to happen, because you've almost like somehow separated yourself from physical therapy. Like these guys how many times I've heard like these guys aren't normal physical therapists. Like this is not, they need to think of a new name. We've heard that a million times, right? And it's because of obviously the outcomes we get, but also because of like the story we tell and how we help people. Makes people want to even like separate us. And if we're not painted in the same, you know, broad brushstroke as physical therapy, we're not going to be, you know, subject to the ups and downs the profession's going to go on. We get to, you know, dictate our own way.
I like that idea.
King.
Yeah. And then you can sidestep all the HIPAA shit that we got to step around to do some of the stuff that we don't want to do. Yeah. So it kind of sounds like, to kind of bring it full circle, that although the level field is getting kind of balanced out, what once was like operationally minded people had the greatest competitive advantage, which in a lot of ways they still do. It's almost like, because operations are now being like kind of commoditized with AI, the new thing is really like your ability to actually build brand, culture, and community. So is there a world where you think practices can be competitive without building brand, without putting content out there?
Almost zero.
How do you want to grow? I mean, the fastest way to the bottom is to commoditize yourself, right? And so it's like if you don't do at least the bare minimum to hit the commodity based things like AI, your tech stack, like, you know, whatever your treatment outcomes. Like I know, like we used to be like, yeah, we're one-on-one for an hour with a doctor of physical therapy. And it's like, that doesn't matter anymore. That's just so even keel across the board. Like if that's in your marketing, you need to remove it now. And so like, if you are doing the things that are being, you know, commoditized, like you need to do something that's going to be above and beyond. That's going to elevate your brand, elevate your culture, elevate your team, elevate your client experience, whatever. So yeah, no, I think you're going to be dead if you don't do it. But the real problem is you're not going to be able to grow if you don't do it as well.
Yeah, you can stay a solopreneur and not worry about culture and build a lifestyle business. I think anybody has the ability to do that, right? Like a lifestyle business. Yeah, if your lifestyle is working 80 hours a week.
Yeah, if you like working 80 hours a week, making 70K.
Yeah, right.
And then burn out for years.
Right. And so I think like Will was saying, like we have the ability to be able to grow faster now. And it's really like, you know, because how many people out there, like even with the new AI stuff, all these automations it can do, scroll on Instagram, scroll on TikTok, and they say, oh, this is a really cool thing from AI. Let me save this for later. And then never freaking look at it ever again. You know what I mean? It's like there's still going to be the people that do stuff. There's still going to be people that want to do stuff, regardless of how easy it is, how automated it is. That's going to be still the thing that's going to separate people that like gets that level of success they want to versus sit on the couch and watch other people's success as they scroll down their timeline.
I love that. I love that. All right, gentlemen. That wraps up our episode here today. So if you're listening to this and got value out of the episode, don't forget to like and share and subscribe to the podcast. Every single week, the 5 of us are going live to share what we're doing inside of our own businesses in terms of marketing, sales, leadership, AI, and truly what it actually takes to build a world-class 7-figure practice that not only impacts thousands of people's lives within our communities and creates dream jobs for other PTs, but allows us to live a pretty exciting life where we get to dedicate the vast majority of our time giving back to other people. So thanks for listening, everybody.
See you guys.
You boys.